Hi everyone, so we're going to start again where we left off. So we talked about probably 5.5 or 4.5 parts of what we're talking about. So we're going to finish talking about our place in the universe. So at this point, everyone should have watched and done the video on the solar system. So we are going to continue from there. So our place in the universe is a really interesting take to look at. When measuring the way that we measure in space, we use what is called light years. So it's a really different measurement than something that we're used to. So if you see here, we have our sun right here in the center, and you see a lot of different stars that you might recognize the names of that we would see in our night sky. So we have Sirius over here, and a few others that you can see. So this is only 12.5 light years away from the center, which is the sun. So if we keep going, you see how mass that it gets. We keep moving further and further, 5,000 light years. You see another familiar name, which is still pretty close to where the sun would be. 50,000 light years away. Stuff is starting to get very small in comparison to where we actually are. And the further and further away we get, we can see that at 500,000 light years away, our Milky Way system, which is where we are, is so differently placed than what we would imagine, which is why a lot of people think before we had all the technology that we have, that Earth was the center of the universe, is because it's hard to think of moving out from such a centered thing that you can't really visualize. So even in 5,000, you see so many other things that we have found in the universe. You just see how much more there is out. And here, we are somewhere in here, but it's so far out in the spectrum that you can't even visualize the Milky Way system that we're in. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is the origin and fate of the universe. So astronomy is also called cosmology. So cosmology. Cosmology seeks the scientific explanation for how the universe began and how it might end. So with astronomy, we're able to, because we were able to figure out the beginning, it's going to be very different for us now to try to predict the future. So we have seen stars end, which is probably how the end of our galaxy will happen, is that our star, the sun, will die, which will be the end to life in our sense, because we will lose that heat that is needed for Earth to have living things on it. But thinking even further than that is how the universe will end will be a very different statement. So the beginning, we believe the Big Bang happened, which is again how solar systems are created, and that gas becoming that disc-shaped thing and the matter coming together to form different planets and dwarf planets and things like that. So it's so weird to see how things throughout time. So here we have a lot of spaced out images here, and when we move 13.7 billion years later, which is about now, we can see how things have condensed and really became different types of planets, stars, all of these things that we find out into the galaxy. So we're going to watch this video in class, so don't worry about this one. We'll talk about it in class. But keeping going, like 100 billion years from now, the universe will appear frozen in time as we look into space, because it'll look different because of all the time that passed. Just like from the beginning of the Big Bang, it looked very different from what it looks like now. It will continue to go like that. So only light from local groups of galaxies will remain visible if there's anyone even around to see it, because of the life expectancy of all stars is something to think about. So the last thing that we're going to talk about is true science versus science fiction, which we talked about a lot in class today. So astronomy has some weird stuff in it, but a lot of it is true. Black holes do exist, and there's been a radiation that's happened from the universe from the beginning, from that Big Bang. But science fiction is something that we talked a little bit about in class, like alien abductions, maybe even reincarnation, depending on your faith and how you believe in that. That would be considered more of a science fiction atmosphere. So this is a really cool image of a spinning black hole. We can definitely explore more into this. It seemed like some of you are really interested in this topic. And some radiation that we can see that happened over from the beginning to now. And of course, we have our science fiction like Star Wars and the Alien movie. So this is really just a brief introduction to why we study astronomy. We're going to get deeper into different systems and solar systems specifically, and talking about those creations. Okay. So make sure if you have any questions that you write them down, and I will be sure to answer those in class. Okay, I'll see you soon.